Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there. Day late, dollar short, but nonetheless, here I am for all four of you who might be there. I thank you if you are. This is sort of a stealth edition of Lynn Cullen Live. I don't normally do a show on Friday, and it is a Friday, November 14th. But yesterday's show was dead in the water, despite heroic efforts on the part of yours truly to figure out what the hell. Anyway, not to bore you, but it turned out, the tech gods had decided to screw with my entire operation. And it took poor dear Kevin over an hour to figure out what the hell they'd done. So anyway, I literally could not get on yesterday. But here I am. Good to see some of you there. It'll be, I don't know. Not the usual audience, I suspect, but whatever. I just thought it was so cruel to be silenced on a day when I felt like I had a lot I needed to say. Well, I need to, but I wanted to. It was a big news day, to say the least. So anyway, some of it's a little stale at this point, but wow. I'm hanging on Eric Swalwell's remark that I think might be correct. It's also interesting that they're coming for him now. But he said to somebody, I don't know, this is the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end. How the hell interminable the interim to get to that end will be remains to be seen, lived through. Let's hope. I guess the one thing that I can't get out of my head is how dangerous this moment is, because of how dangerous he is, especially when he feels cornered or less powerful. And quite clearly, he is less powerful. I needn't go over all of that. From the Tuesday elections to the poll numbers to the fact that everything he's doing is fucking everything up royally. And the fact that even trying to, this pulling into the White House Situation Room of Lauren Boebert in a desperate attempt to get her name off that petition. It's hard to imagine how freaked out they must be. The Attorney General, the head of the FBI, the Deputy Attorney General, not sure if Trump stopped in as well, the most powerful people in the country on that god-awful woman. And who knows? I'm also trying to imagine the threats. The initial attempt to cajole and then how that then devolves into threats, personal threats, political threat. Truly, we know with this crowd, and they've made clear they deliver on their threats. And you see how an entire party has quaked and fallen before those threats. But now we're seeing them standing up here, there. They met in the Situation Room. By the way, that doesn't seem like a big deal. The Situation Room is one of those rooms where there is no way you can record anything lest she attempt to, or lest anybody attempt to record the threats. Whatever. It is mind-boggling. You know what I'm beginning to see? This whole thing is as we've been saying since day one, since he came onto the scene. The word that kept recurring over and over again is unbelievable. I mean, just so many things were unbelievable. And to think that this Epstein stuff that may in fact take him down would never have risen to the power it holds but for the QAnon crazies. When you look at how you make the timeline, you try to see, how did we end up here? Like the first time you ever heard of QAnon, you thought, what the fuck? What? There are millions of people who believe that, I don't even know their whole litany of belief, but that, there's a cabal of deep state, international, and they're what? Sex trafficking children, eating children, putting them on top of pizzas. I don't know. You couldn't even believe it. And yet, he glommed onto it, and they glommed onto him. And then they actually thought that he was going to somehow be the one who uncovered this horrific child trafficking plot at the highest regions of the government. It never occurred to them that he was... Okay, never mind. My head starts to cramp. It just starts to cramp. But there are two things that are really true. This thing ain't going away. And he is dangerous. He will want and have to make it go away. And in order to do that, he has to divert our attention and the media's attention. And it's going to take something big to do that. Some wag the dog kind of big thing. No blowing little fishing boats out of the water. It'd be something big. So that is my... I'm so nervous now. But the fact that this now can't go away, no matter what. The fact that they've given up on the initial stonewalling. They shut down the effing government over this. Make no mistake. And, there's so much to talk about. Did you see when they came back into session. And one of the first orders of business was to swear in the Arizona Congresswoman who would be the last signature on that petition, given that they couldn't strong-arm Boebert off it. And she was amazing. I don't know if you saw the swearing in, but she was amazing. No sooner had Johnson, that weak little fuck, sworn her in than she took the podium and went after him. Went after him for an abuse of power, for keeping her constituents unrepresented. She was amazing. Grijalva. I'm getting good at pronouncing unpronounceable names. Grijalva. Adelita Grijalva. And she spoke in English and Spanish because she was speaking to her constituents. Powerful stuff. Anyway, so they've decided they can't avoid it anymore. So as early as next week, the House will vote on having the Justice Department release all the crap they're holding. Not that I trust them to do it. And they've got the votes. But here's the thing. They need a massive vote. They need to show that this is something that has to be done. So you need 2/3 of the House, which is most of the Republicans, to take on Trump and vote for this thing. Send it on to the Senate. That's then the last chamber that can stop it. But if there's an overwhelming vote in the House, I don't know if this is going to happen. But it could. And then if the Senate actually passes it, it goes to, well, I was going to say it goes to the Resolute desk, but no, it doesn't. Have you seen that he's stolen the Resolute desk? Again, you can't make it up. The Resolute desk has gone missing. It's been found. It's at Mar-a-Lago. That is the American people's property. He's absconded with it. Big shock. But it will go to his desk, and he has to either sign it as the president or veto it. So if he vetoes it, it goes back to the House, and that's where you need that 2/3 majority to override. Now, if that all happens, he's done. Seems to me. He's done. But as we know, having lived with this son of a bitch for a decade, that nothing goes as one would hope and or seems it should. So who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? You know, I'm starting to. Have you seen this crap that's come out about Matt Gaetz now and the girl, the homeless 17-year-old? He screwed on a billiards table in front of other people. What? And this was Trump's first choice for attorney general, you'll recall. What a vile bunch of pedophiles and crooks. And then when you do see these emails and see the talk and banter amongst these powerful, mostly men, but some women thrown in here and there so far, it sickens you. And it does make you susceptible to believing that the QAnon people weren't all that crazy. That these guys are evil, drunk on their power. Sickening. So, I don't know what he's going to have to do to change this attention that's being paid, but it has to be big, doesn't it? We're going to go to war. Choose a country, any country, who the hell knows? Venezuela, certainly. He's mentioned Nigeria to go after the poor, struggling Christians there, who comprise almost 50% of the country. I don't know. But back to, I saw something today in the Times that I hadn't seen before. Larry Summers, what a fucking creep. That was the president of Harvard. That was he the Treasury Secretary? Who was that? He was a big to-do in both Clinton and I think Obama's administration. Larry Summers, what a vile son of a bitch. Anyway, I hadn't seen this one in an email exchanged with Epstein. He says, "Will Trump crack into insanity?" And Epstein responds, "Trump, borderline insane. Dershowitz, a few feet further from the border, but not by much." These are all of these. We're talking about. And then he tells someone else, it's unclear, "I'm the only one who can take him down." Which, of course, leads us to the next big question, which now comes back with a fury. Who killed Epstein? Because he sure as hell was no suicide. Who killed him? Well, we know who has reason to kill him. We know who has means to kill him. So I have little doubt, right? I don't know that we'll ever know. You do know that the security cameras managed to sort of like, with the Nixon era, that 18-minute, the tape somehow, got erased. Somehow the security cameras sort of like wasn't quite pointed at his cell at a certain period of time. He was murdered. I so want to know. You wonder who else. I mean, I just, when I think of all the crazy things that, have, I don't know, guys. I don't know. None of this helps get Americans pulled back into some measure of sanity. It just doesn't, right? Because if reality starts approaching this kind of, and it seems to be, what awful, awful, awful human beings. QAnon. Pizza fucking gate. They thought it was going to take down Hillary Clinton. Her emails. Now it turns out we got somebody else's emails, and it ain't taken down Hillary, as far as we know yet. Might sully her hubby. I am happy to think of how discomfited the creep in the White House must be. But think of the threats that are being made now. Think of the strong-arm tactics. Can we even begin to imagine? And the thing we know is let your imaginations run wild. So one of the things Trump has clearly tried mightily to do, and has, I think, frightening success, is get the media cowed. I don't think he's got enough of it cowed. But I ran a little experiment on Wednesday night. I did something I rarely do. I watched network news, since it was such a, big news day. And I first watched NBC's news, and it managed not to lead with the weather or people stuck in airports. It led with the obvious lead story, which was the release of these Epstein memos. And they did a pretty good job, and I'd say they spent about 6 minutes, which is a whole hunk of the probably, 20 minutes when you take the commercials and promo stuff out that they have. What's called the news hole. And then I watched CBS a half hour later. And guys, I still am in a state of shock at what I saw. I really am. Oh my God. I've been asking almost people on the, like I bump into on the street. So what was the what if you're producing a newscast? What's the big story? And everybody, I mean seriously, everybody said, well, Epstein. Yeah, not at CBS News. And we know CBS News is one of those that has caved totally, changed ownership, owned by Trumpians, and the news division given over to Pittsburgh's own Barry Weiss. And Barry Weiss's news show Wednesday night left my mouth agape. They didn't lead. If you're watching CBS News, they didn't lead with Epstein files. No, they led with the Congress is back in session. Well, whoop-de-fucking-do. Okay, who didn't know that? That's as dull a story as they come. Everybody knew they're back, blah, blah, blah. That's why files are, that's why everything is happening, all the other stuff you're supposed to be covering. They spent the first 7 minutes of their newscast, their little fucking half-hour newscast, on the Congress is back in session. What? I mean, really, what? I don't know the cast of characters. I don't know the anchor. I don't know anything. But the anchor started the show off by throwing it, of course, to their Capitol Hill reporter, who's standing outside. I don't know who he was. But he said something to the effect of, yes, so-and-so, the government shutdown ended today, and we'll also have news about the Epstein emails coming up. My guess was that was not something it was so clearly something that he felt the need to say, because he knew that anyone tuning in, that's what they wanted. They didn't want him droning on about the return of the errant Republicans. I started taking notes. I was literally stunned. When it got to 4 minutes in, and it was still just droning on about stuff nobody cares about, nobody needed to know, could have been done in literally a 12-second voiceover. 4 minutes in, I just wrote down, unbelievable. Then it was 5 minutes in, and they turned, I think, oh, good, they're done, and now we're going to get Epstein. No! They went into a second story focused on the Democrats, because the whole first thing was, all the Republicans saying all their lies about how the Democrats had shut down the government. And then they let the Democrats have a word or two in. Hakeem Jeffries was the guy. And that went on. And again, it was ridiculous. And boring. And they didn't get to Epstein, to the lead story, until over 7 minutes into the show. Wow. Wow. Just effing wow. If that program had been produced in the Oval Office, it could not have been more Trump leaning, helping him as much as it possibly could. I don't know. It must have looked like Fox. I am so stunned. Yeah, Milton is saying so much for the Tiffany Network. It's gone. Edward R. Murrow, Eric Severide, Walter Cronkite. It's gone. Buried by Barry Weiss. Shame. Just effing shame. And then, I have to tell you, it wasn't over. They went into this story about Venezuela that was clearly intended to show that Donald Trump blowing up fishing boats is totally understandable, given how horrible Maduro, and he is horrible, is. It was an incredible anti-Maduro story. But one of the things that really struck me was something that the reporter said. Her name was Margaret Brennan, and she said Maduro socialism impoverished the nation. And I thought, oh, wow. So here we have them saying, understand, she said Maduro socialism. She was qualifying the kind of socialism because socialism, as you know, is rampant throughout European democracies. It doesn't impoverish nations. But this is, again, the right-wing attempt to sully the idea of a socialism, a government that, has a more of a collectivist point of view. And then they went on to some story about friggin' Jack Schlossberg, JFK's only grandchild, running for Nadler's seat, and they called he's known for his social presence, and I think the reporter said, which could certainly be called crass. So that, I gotta tell you, it was like, what the fuck? Unbelievable. Watchman says, so me watching Wheel of Fortune isn't such a bad idea. You're damn right, buddy, and that's what I'll watch. I always thought that was a stupid show, but god damn it. I'll buy a vowel. Fuck. Oh. I see somebody saying it would make a great movie. Yeah, but unbelievable. Speaking of movies, I do also want to say something, and I saw this on that same Wednesday night when I was in such a state of disrepair from having subjected myself to Barry Weiss's newscast that I turned to what I do, Turner Classic Movies. I thought, get me the fuck out of here! I turned on TCM, and there was, I couldn't believe it, a Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn movie I hadn't seen, which takes some doing. And I can't remember the name of it, but I watched it, and damn, I have to tell you something. I've been noticing this. TCM is showing a lot of films, these old films from the 40s, 30s, and 40s that are warnings about fascism. As was this. This was a very political movie, obviously done prior to or as we're heading into fighting fascists. TCM has been doing a lot of anti-fascist movies that at the time were, movies intended to steel the American public to fighting these bastards. And I love that these movies, like almost 100 years old, are being put out there again because there are some stirring speeches in them. There's some wondrous anti-fascist stuff that rings so alarmingly true now in this moment. The only thing I can think of, because I didn't write down the whole, was, it's called Keeper of the Flame. Yes. Wow. Anyway, at one point, Spencer Tracy talking to a young boy says to him, our heroes, he was talking about, obviously, World War I to the kid, because that was the war that had, the most recent war. He said something like, our heroes fought those who wanted us to be slaves. And the little boy said, no, no, you're thinking that was the Civil War. And Spencer Tracy's character goes on to say, no, people can be enslaved bodily with shackles, or people can be enslaved, and what I am talking about is people who want to enslave us by putting chains on our minds and our tongues. I wrote that line. Chains on our minds and tongues. He was trying to explain fascism to this child. Yeah. And man, those guys are busy again. Really busy again. I saw this in social media. I'll share it just because some of you, I think, could have written it. You know, I got to say, Donald Trump is really a very inspirational figure. I'm 76 years old, and I go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. My goal, to stay healthy enough to outlive the bastard. Or at least live long enough to see him pay for his crimes. Wow. I have met some very bad people. None as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body. Another little thing that dribbled out of these emails, which are also just the tip of the iceberg, right? Oh, man. Let me move just to a few other things, if I may. I mentioned the other day, not surprisingly, that the sandwich guy got off. But someone did a piece, I forgot where I read it, about the makeup of the jury. And one of the interesting things, our jury system. So these are just regular folks. In fact, they said the jury that let the sandwich guy go was made up of 3 men and 9 women, pretty much equal mix of black and white. There was an architect. There was a professor. Well, it sounds more highly educated than most. There was an analyst and a number of retirees. And one of the members of the jury that spoke said that they were really diligent, not wanting to fuck it up, to get it right, which is why it took. I mean, they deliberated over 2 days. I thought they'd be in and out. I don't think they wanted to. They literally went over like what constitutes bodily injury, what this, that, and the other thing. And they had admitted to dissolving into hysterical laughter on a number of occasions. Oh my God. They said they were aware that they didn't want to, like, seemingly be saying It's okay to attack a federal agent. It's okay to be throwing things at them. But whatever. They really, damn, they did the job. One of you sent me an email the other day suggesting that Subway get behind this and, come up with a sandwich in honor of the guy. And I forgot what she said it should be called. But I don't know anything about Subway's management. She thought that the proceeds could be donated to the guy's legal fund if he needs help in paying for his attorneys since he's out of a job. But why would Subway do that? Since if they were to do something like that, politicize themselves, they would immediately be subject to a boycott by Trump's dwindling supporters. So I don't see him doing it. I want to tip my hat to the Catholic bishops who I have often found reason to criticize, but I really appreciate that for the first time in over a decade, they managed to put out what is called a special message, a pastoral document, which can only be issued at their annual meeting, and it's intended to address, circumstances at the moment. And it's been since 2013, when, I hate to say, this is why I'm often not applauding them, that came out, they released a statement under Obama's presidency, coming down on the Affordable Care Act covering contraception. So, sorry, but this one, pushing back against what is happening in this country, the thuggery, the cruelty. This one was strong stuff and almost unanimous. I can't imagine who didn't vote for it and still be a bishop. But if you hadn't read it, just a little bit of it. We are disturbed when we see among our people a climate of fear and anxiety around questions of profiling and immigration enforcement. We are saddened by the state of contemporary debate and the vilification of immigrants. We are concerned about the conditions in detention centers and the lack of access to pastoral care. We lament that some immigrants in the United States have arbitrarily lost their legal status. We are troubled by threats against the sanctity of houses of worship and the special nature of hospitals and schools. We are grieved when we meet parents who fear being detained when taking their children to school, and when we try to console family members who have already been separated from their loved ones. You look at those verbs that they use, they never repeated them. They're disturbed, they're saddened, they're concerned, they lament, they grieve, and they're troubled. Well, I say to the bishops, we're right there with you. Right there with you. What do I got? What do I got? What do I got? Oh, damn. I got obits. I got me some obits. The penny. Yeah. Last one's minted. All those ones you got at the house. What am I supposed to do with all those things? American penny, been around since 232. I mean, since 232. For 232 years. But the astonishing thing is, the Brits have a penny. And their penny is still out there. And they're still making that penny. The Brits' penny has been around since the 600s. Good God. I just want to say, it's astonishing. Anyway, it was hard to see reporting on it without all kinds of references to all of the adages and songs and idiomatic expressions and that have to do with a penny. And you wonder, so in 100 years, assuming any of us are still, not us, but humans are still around, will people understand what a penny saved is a penny earned? Will that be understood? A penny for your thoughts? I don't know. A pretty penny? So it turns out that the pennies we've got now are just 2.5% have copper plating. Originally, they were fully copper, and the copper penny bit the dust during World War II because the copper was needed for more important stuff. And even though it's been made out of like zinc, I guess, it's mostly zinc, and with that copper plating, it still costs more than a penny to make a penny, so that's the end of it. But the piece I read about it said that the nickel, which is next up, I think, for getting axed, the nickel also costs more than a nickel to make. In fact, to make one nickel costs us more than a dime. So why are we doing that? I mean, I understand why we're doing it, because pricing will, without those smaller denominations, and you can bet that the end of the penny is going to raise prices. Don't think things are going to get rounded down. Of course, they'll get rounded up. A penny here, a penny there. But if you lose the nickel, too. So I saw Giant Eagle had something where they're begging you to come in and they'd give you, I forget how much, 2 cents for every penny. I don't know what they did. But I suppose we'll see more of that until, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't get it. I don't suppose anybody gives a damn. But there you have it. That's the obit of the day is for the penny. And also for the Farmer's Almanac, or Almanac. Not sure how you pronounce it. Yeah. It's dead. It's Napoleon was alive when it first hit the printer. you know, homespun advice, weather prognostications. The 2026 Farmer's Almanac will be the last. You know what I never understood is how the hell could they pretend to know what the weather was going to be? I'm serious. But people swear by it. They said that some president, maybe it was Nixon, when his daughter was getting married or something, checked the almanac to see if it would be rainy. I don't know. Just bizarre. But here's the thing. The piece I read got me so confused because it said this: the Farmer's Almanac, not to be confused with the Old Farmer's Almanac, which is still published. So which one am I thinking of? I think I'm thinking of the Old Farmer's Almanac. I have not a clue. Do I bother missing this one? And the Old Farmer's Almanac, which is still going to be published, is older than this one that's giving up the ghost. The Old Farmer's Almanac goes back to 1792, when George Washington was the president. And that's still going. So I don't know that any of this makes any difference. Except it's just another thing. The book came with a hole in it, so you could hang it on a nail somewhere handy. I mean, the National Weather Service didn't exist. It barely exists anymore since Trump's been in office. Oh, Margaret says, but J.D. Vance is going to be the president. Yeah, scary stuff. Yeah, that is scary stuff. And I was thinking, if that happens, I mean, first of all, again, if we had a functional government, the Republicans would do what they did with Nixon. They would go to the Donald and say, "Guy, it's up. You got to resign. And if you don't, we'll show you the door. You got to go." I mean, it's not going to get any better, right? But they're so, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. We all know this, that any other president would never survive most of what he already has. Allegations, beyond allegations, proof, convictions, for Christ's sake. And now this clear palsy-walsy with a pedophile, and knowing how he treats women, and knowing he's from his own mouth how he likes young ones, something he had in common with his dear friend Jeff. Yeah. How the hell can he survive? And if he does, if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about how damaged a nation we are. For God's sakes, the sclerotic monarchy in Britain did something that we would have thought unbelievable. They kicked the king kicked his own brother to the curb. And because of allegations, not conviction, allegations that are part and parcel the same kind of stuff that's floating now around about the President of the United States. Whoa. So if Andrew, no longer Prince, can lose so much, I just... whatever. Again, I'm left with just a few major questions. Will any of us survive this? Because he's a cornered, damaged, enraged, mentally ill animal. And who killed Jeffrey Epstein? Just seems fairly obvious. You know, what I'm seeing happening here on chat and that I saw yesterday, I have to tell you, it warmed my heart. And those of you who aren't listening, if you listen on YouTube, there's a chat feature. And it's gotten very, very active amongst you. And it's delightful to see. And yesterday, when I couldn't get on, they were all there and talking amongst themselves. And I was enjoying the conversation in between freaking out and tearing my hair and screaming obscenities. And I just think somebody is just saying we should have some group. We would love to have a Facebook group for Lynn's community. And I want to say one of the greatest things I inadvertently have done is create a community. And it means the world to me. I take such pleasure in it. And I see that I'm not alone. So I just want to say that's nice. And it got me to thinking that maybe what we need to do, although I am not an organizer, is get ourselves together at least once in person. I don't know, somewhere. We did that. I did that once when, that's where I first met Clarence and a bunch of you other folks. That was, delightful. So anyway, I'm just saying that that's just been wonderful for me. Really has. So thank you. Good to see you all enjoying each other's company. Okay, I think that's it. I know I'm not going to make a habit of this. Although, given the state of the my technical acumen, I don't know. Might have to. Anyway, thank you. And let's talk again on Monday. I appreciate that. And let me now try to take my leave, which has become a real annoyance, as some of you know, because this thing doesn't play when I push it. It's been pushed, I'm telling you, recalcitrant. It's spinning, it's thinking.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.